Ladies and gentlemen, as you guys know, on this channel, we specialize in specialist stories. Throughout Black Ops 4, we have dove into many different characters looking at their backstory, but one of them isn't necessarily in this game, but at the same time is, and I thought this was a perfect time to dive into this character's backstory, because recently, with the new addition of the reserve systems, we are getting a different look at Danny Lee, aka Blackjack. Now, Blackjack is an interesting character because we actually have quite a bit of information on this character for multiple reasons. First of all, Danny Lee is actually a character in the Black Ops 3 campaign. On top of that, we saw him as a character in Black Ops 3's multiplayer, and now we are seeing him in the black market of Black Ops 4. Now, all of that combined gives us a pretty good idea of his entire backstory, and today we are even looking at some data mined information about this character as well. Now, before we dive into Blackjack's backstory, I just want to let you guys know that later today over on Twitch, I will be doing a live stream. I'm going to be playing some multiplayer in Black Ops 4, and I'm actually going to be playing with you guys. So if you've ever wanted to play some Black Ops 4 with me, or you just want to check out the live stream you enjoy, Twitch, it'll be the first link down in the description, and I'll see you over there. The live stream will start right around 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, so hopefully I see you there. Now, diving into Blackjack's backstory, this gets a little difficult because the question is, where do we start? And there's multiple angles to look at this from, but I think the easiest place to start is before Blackjack was actually Blackjack, when his name was simply Danny Lee and nothing else.
There's a dealer that works with them. Danny Lee. He's a shifty little bastard, but he's well connected.
Danny Lee is first introduced to us when Hendrix needs to get some information from the 54i, or the 54 Immortals. Danny Lee is one of the main people in the 54i at the time and is well versed with the leaders Gomin and Zulian. I'm sure I butchered the second guy's name, but these are both characters that end up showing up in this cutscene, and later on, Gomin actually gets killed in this scene. Now, one thing you may notice is that Danny Lee looks a little bit different here than he does in the multiplayer for Black Ops 3. One of the biggest differences between the two is that in this scene, he doesn't have a robotic arm, whereas in the multiplayer, he's missing his right arm and has a robotic arm replacing it. Now, we're going to go more in depth with some of the things that we see on Danny Lee, including his face, arms, that kind of stuff in a little bit, but the reason why these things happen is because of the rest of this cutscene. You see, at the end of this cutscene, Danny Lee and Gomin are both shot by safeguard robots that break into the facility here, and Danny Lee is blamed for this and is kind of banished from the 54Is. However, he does redeem himself by naming himself Blackjack and working as a mercenary. Now, this is the part that actually ties into another character's backstory, Seraph's. So as we know from Seraph's cutscene in Black Ops 4, Seraph becomes an enforcer, which is one of the highest possible ranks in the 54i. The two people that are above that are Gomin and Zulian, the two people that we actually see in this cutscene standing in front of Seraph. Both of them are there. You see, after the events of the cutscene that we saw there, after Gomin has died, Seraph takes her role as an enforcer to the next step, and she is the one who actually banishes Danny Lee. However, after changing his name to Blackjack and working as a mercenary, he works his way back into the 54i, and even to a higher rank than he previously was. But hold the phone there, because we still need to talk about something that happened in that cutscene. If you didn't notice, Danny Lee also gets shot, but the question is, Gomin dies, but Danny Lee, aka Blackjack, doesn't? How does that happen? Well, this is actually explained in Blackjack's bio, that when he gets shot, he actually just recently required a rejack. Now, if you don't know what rejack is, it's actually Nomad's specialist ability in Black Ops 3. And the description of it is, on death, an injection floods Nomad's body with a nanite serum capable of rapidly reconstructing damaged tissue and organs. So somehow Blackjack came into contact with either Nomad or the person who creates this injection and had one on hand, and that is the only reason why he survived this interaction. Now, the other thing that's cool about this injection that we're talking about here is, if you don't know what nanite is, it's actually nano robots. So it's an injection of robots that go inside your body and heal tissue and organs, essentially putting you back together like little mini surgeons. Now the next question is once Blackjack redeems himself as a mercenary, does he rise to the level of an enforcer for the 54i, similar to Seraph? Now the reason why I asked this question is you see in Seraph's cutscene, when she becomes an enforcer, the thing that happens is she cuts her own right arm off and replaces it with a robotic arm. Now similarly, a thing that we see with Danny Lee, aka Blackjack, in the Black Ops 3 multiplayer is he is also missing his right arm and has replaced it with a robotic one. I believe that it is more than possible because of this that Blackjack actually worked his way up to become a 54i enforcer after the events of the Black Ops 3 campaign. So that is most of his backstory, but we have to examine a little bit further to find out a little bit more. So the first thing is the giant plot hole that Blackjack puts into the story. So as we discussed, Danny Lee doesn't get the name Blackjack until after the events of Black Ops 3. And as we know, Black Ops 3 takes place after Black Ops 4, which means that Blackjack wouldn't be his name until well after the events of Black Ops 4. However, Danny Lee is named Blackjack in Black Ops 4. We see this, first of all, in the black market with Blackjack Shop being a thing, and also in the new reserve systems, that is Blackjack standing right in front of you. Now, I've heard some theories that this isn't actually Blackjack who's standing here or not Danny Lee. I find that hard to believe. First of all, if you look at the animations between the two characters, they both do the little thing where they put the coin between their fingers and then toss it over to the other hand. Both of them do the exact same thing. On top of that, they look similar and are both named Blackjack. So how is it possible that in Black Ops 4, which takes place before the events of Black Ops 3, Blackjack is still a character? Well, it's not. It's impossible. It's a pretty big plot hole that I'm surprised Treyarch didn't see. So if you have any answers, feel free to let me know what you think down in the comments. But the one other interesting thing about Blackjack's character model in Black Ops 4 is the right hand. Once again, if you look at it, you can't tell whether it's a robotic arm or not because he's wearing a leather glove on the right arm. Now, I'm assuming they did this to add a little bit of mystery to the character model. As far as the timeline goes, he shouldn't have that robotic arm yet. But, as we just talked about, they kind of put a big plot hole by making his name Blackjack in this game. So, at this point, it could go either way. Now, there is another big observation you can make about Blackjack and Danny Lee, which can mean a lot for the overall story of Black Ops, and specifically the 54i and Seraph. So as we know, the 54i's home is in Singapore. It's where the entire army, if you want to call them that, lives, resides, and stays. They actually refuse to leave this area. Now, as we know, in Black Ops 3, there are massive cataclysmic events that take place in Singapore. Explosions, bombs going off, and people around the city getting very, very sick and dying. We know this because Firebreak's cutscene in Black Ops 4 is actually exactly that. Firebreak is in Singapore, burning dead bodies that have been sick, trying to assumably get rid of this virus or infection that has been spreading. Now, at the end of Firebreak's cutscene, it actually zooms out so you can see the entire city of Singapore, and no one's there. No one's driving cars, no one's walking the streets. A lot of people are either hiding or dead. This is further amplified when Danny Lee is talking in the Black Ops 3 cutscenes and says that Singapore wouldn't have any infrastructure if it wasn't for the 54i.
If not for the Immortals, we wouldn't even have electricity in this shithole.
Going as far as to say the only reason why electricity exists here is because of the 54i. Now, it's great that the 54i are trying to rebuild Singapore, but I also believe that the fact that they're staying there and refusing to leave is actually going to kill off the 54i. Now, the reason why I say this is because of some data mined files from Black Ops 4. In fact, 2 data mined files. Now, these files are labeled Blackjack's eyes. Now, the first one is just a normal brown eye. It's a little bit bloodshot, but all in all, it's a normal eye. Now, Blackjack's second eye looks a little bit different, a little cloudier, the color is different, and this, what you're looking at here, is known as cataracts. Now, if you don't know what cataracts are, it's actually the leading cause of blindness and happens to generally people over the age of 40. Now, as far as cataracts go, it's essentially the clouding of the lens of the eye, which lies behind the iris and pupil. Now, the thing with cataracts is it's rather fixable. There's actually something called a cataract surgery, which basically fixes it completely. Now, the problem is after you get the surgery, it is very common for cataracts to come back and for you to either have to get the surgery again or for it to be unfixable. Now, the good news is cataracts aren't a big deal. They are very fixable, as we talked about before, but the question is what were they caused by? Now, some of the main causes include diabetes, obesity, smoking, or a family history, which all of these are possible, but one thing that doesn't happen to many people and can cause cataracts extremely easily is prolonged exposure to radiation, which would also answer the question as to why the cataract hasn't been fixed, because if you were to fix it and then still be exposed to radiation, you would just get it again. Now, there are a couple of theories as to why Blackjack has been exposed to radiation. The first of which is, as we know, he's a salvager. He goes into pretty bad areas, finds weapon, gear, and then sells it to people. He's a black market vendor. So he could have been exposed to radiation while doing this. But I don't think so. I think it's much more than that. Now, if we once again go to Black Ops 3 and look at the character model, we can see Blackjack wearing something covering his eyes, which could be an ocular implant similar to what Prophet has in Black Ops 3, or it could be something just to improve his vision a little bit. And once again, we know that Blackjack has cataracts, and this could be to improve that. But the problem is he is not the only 54i wearing these. If we once again go into the cutscene that we looked at before and look into the background, there is another 54i standing in the back with the exact same thing covering his eyes, which could be because he also has cataracts and needs help with his vision as well. So what if it's not just Danny Lee that's exposed to this radiation? What if after these cataclysmic events of Black Ops 3, the entire town of Singapore is exposed to radiation? This would completely explain why so many people are dying and why Firebreak has to go in to destroy the bodies and clean the area, if you will. Also explaining why he's wearing a radiation suit and why the 54i is having eye problems. I'm sorry, I had to put the pun in there. It was just, it was too easy. But guys, that is just a theory. It's not confirmed, but it all adds up. It all makes sense. Explains why Singapore has become essentially a ghost town. And on top of that, why Blackjack is having cataracts problems and why the 54i have been wearing these eye covers. But ladies and gentlemen, that is the backstory of Blackjack. We talked about his backstory. On top of that, the big plot hole revolving around his name. And then finally, the future of the 54i. Now, if you guys enjoyed the video, I would very much appreciate it if you could hit that like button. The more likes these video gets, the more likely I am to continue on with this series, make more videos like this, create more theories revolving around the Black Ops universe. So if you enjoyed, I would very much appreciate if you could hit that like button. Also, I am always interested to hear what you guys have to say. Do you agree with the theories? Do you have your own theories? What do you think about Blackjack's name? Did they screw it up? Did they make a plot hole and just now dug themselves into a hole and can't fix it? Let me know what you think down in the comments. Also, if you like what you see here and you want to stay up to date on all of my videos, the best way to do so is make sure you hit that subscribe button and make sure you have notifications turned on. But guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, peace out.
We are reaching for the stars, but we're making this to us.